Hello, and welcome back to Anywhere But Here. Today we're going to visit the East Coast and take a look at the 10 worst cities in Maryland. Using metrics like crime, income, education, and cost of living, we've compiled our list of the 10 cities or towns that you probably wouldn't want to live in. Let's get started. Number 10. Aberdeen. Just over 15,000 people call Aberdeen, Maryland home. Per capita income is $30,375 a year, which is lower than middle income for the state of Maryland. The unemployment rate is slightly higher than the national average at 4%, and 17.8% of Aberdeen residents live below the poverty line. The crime index in Aberdeen is 16, so it's the safest city on our list, but still in the bottom 16% of U.S. cities. 9 rapes and 83 assaults occurred in 2019, and 1 in 48 residents will be the victim of a property crime. It is Aberdeen schools that clinched its spot on our list, though. They rank 213 out of 242 Maryland cities. Number 9. Ocean City. Ocean City has a population of only 7,000. Although being a resort town, the population swells on summer weekends into the 300,000s. This can make things like crime statistics difficult to interpret. But the bottom line is, who wants to live in a city that has such a large transient population? You could say, nice place to visit, wouldn't want to live there. Speaking of crime statistics, Ocean City is one of the few cities in the United States that has a crime index of 0. Meaning based on per capita crime, it is one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. But like I mentioned, the crime numbers are skewed by all the visitors that are likely robbing and assaulting each other more than the Ocean City residents. Beyond that, the schools here are great. Per capita income is well above the national average, and only 7% of Ocean City residents live below the poverty line. Number 8. Hyattsville. Over 18,000 people live in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Hyattsville. Its proximity to D.C. makes the cost of living here almost 30% higher than the national average. But the high cost to live here doesn't come with all the benefits you would think. Hyattsville schools are terrible, ranking 218 of 242, and crime here is high. Violent crime is about average compared to the rest of Maryland, but property crimes are really high. 1 in 16 residents are likely to be the victim of some kind of theft. That is over 3 times the state average. Number 7. Fruitland. Fruitland, Maryland's population has grown about 10% since 2010 to a whopping 5,300 people. The cost of living here is 14% lower than the national average, so that probably has a lot to do with it. Per capita income is only $22,429 a year. Unemployment is 4.6%, and 21% of residents live below the poverty line, so people are definitely not moving here for jobs. The schools are bad, ranking 177 of 242, and the crime rate here is higher than the Maryland average, with residents having a 1 in 23 chance of being victim of some kind of theft. Before we get to number 6, I just want to remind you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and if you're enjoying this one, hit the like button. It really helps us out a lot. Number 6. Hagerstown. Located in western Maryland, Hagerstown is the 6th largest city in Maryland. Just over 40,000 people call Hagerstown home. Once an industrial community, the economy has diversified but lacks any real specialization. Unemployment is almost 5%, and per capita income is only $22,577. And more than 1 in 4 Hagerstown residents live in poverty. The crime index is 14, so it's one of the safer cities on this list, but still in the bottom 14% of safe cities in the United States. In 2019, there were 3 murders and 23 rapes reported. Finally, the schools in Hagerstown are only slightly below average, ranking 165 out of 242 cities in Maryland. Number 5. Cumberland. 19,000 people live in the Allegheny County town of Cumberland. Although the per capita income in Cumberland proper is $22,288, which is considered low income for Maryland, the metropolitan area that includes parts of West Virginia is one of the poorest areas in the entire United States. Unemployment in Cumberland is 5.9%, making it about 50% higher than the U.S. average, and 22.6% of Cumberland residents live in poverty. Schools here rank 162 of 242, so not very good, and the crime index is 4, and the violent crime rate of 7.8 crimes per 1,000 residents is 60% higher than the state average. Property crimes happen twice as frequently in Cumberland than Maryland on average, and residents have a 1 in 22 chance of being victim of some kind of theft. Number 4. Elkton. In the northeastern corner of Maryland lies Elkton, home to almost 16,000 people. Unemployment in Elkton is 4.5%, and per capita income is $26,714. Lower middle class for Maryland, yet over 20% of the residents live below the poverty line. The schools are bad, ranking 176 of 242, and the real problem in Elkton is crime. The crime index is 1, ranking it in the bottom 1% of safe cities in the United States. The violent crime rate is twice the Maryland average, and property crimes are more than 3 times as likely to occur in Elkton than in Maryland as a whole. Residents have a 1 in 15 chance of being the victim of a property crime. Think about that for a minute. That is a very scary rate. Number 3. Cambridge. Cambridge is in the Eastern Shore region of Maryland and is one of the oldest colonial cities in Maryland. Over 12,000 people call Cambridge home, and almost 1 out of every 4 of them lives below the poverty line. The per capita income is under $24,000 a year, and the rising unemployment rate is 5.1%. Cambridge also has the worst schools on our list, ranking 236 of 242. Yeah, they're really bad. Crime is also a problem in Cambridge, with a crime index of 2. Violent crime happens at twice the rate of Maryland as a whole, and in 2019 there were 2 murders and 10 reported rapes in Cambridge. The property crime rate is 2.5 times the state average, and residents have a 1 in 19 chance of being robbed. For such a cool-looking little town, it's really not great. Number 2. Salisbury. Nearly 33,000 people live in Salisbury, Maryland, the largest city in the state's Eastern Shore region. Although most people associate lynchings with the Deep South, Salisbury saw enough of them in the last century that in 2020, the mayor created a lynching memorial task force. Crime in general is bad in Salisbury, with both violent crime and property crime being more than double the state averages. Incredibly, as bad as it is, it used to be much worse. 2019 was the safest year in Salisbury's history, and the crime index was still only a 3. Per capita income is only $21,000, and the unemployment rate is 5.4%. Over 22% of Salisbury residents live below the poverty line. And finally, schools in Salisbury are about as bad as you'd expect, ranking 210 of 242, and they are still declining. And the number 1 worst city in Maryland? You guessed it, Baltimore. It's difficult to rank large cities like Baltimore as the worst city in a particular state because despite all the bad, large cities have many great things to offer that small cities simply can't. However, in the case of Baltimore, it's hard not to rank it number 1. Crime alone should be enough to scare people away. In 2019, there were 348 homicides and 326 reported rapes. Residents have a 1 in 53 chance of being the victim of a violent crime, 4 times more than the Maryland average. And property crimes are more than twice as likely to happen here, with 1 in 23 residents being a victim of some kind of theft. Baltimore schools rank near the bottom at 220 out of 242 Maryland cities. Per capita income is almost $30,000 per year, but that just demonstrates a wide disparity in income, as almost 22% of Baltimore's 600,000 residents live in poverty. And in this case, that is over 132,000 people in Baltimore living in poverty. We want to thank you for watching. As always, we encourage you to leave comments. Did we leave out a city that should be on the list, or is there a city you don't think should be included? We love hearing from you. If you enjoy our videos, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you will know when new videos have been released. Thanks again, and always have fun.